Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Irmen.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for making us one of the most popular podcasts listened to. I truly appreciate that, you guys. Okay, if you have not heard, and it's not for release, I'm early. If you are listening to this fresh, it is not out yet, but I have redone my second book and retitled it Life Without the Bank. And that is for business owners who are frustrated with the BS of traditional finance. Because guess what? I too, as a business owner, am frustrated with the BS of traditional finance. So if you have business owner friends, if you own a business and you have not read Farming Without the Bank, then you might want to grab that one when it is available, which should be just a few weeks. If you keep your eye on the website, you will see it if you go to farmingwithoutthebank.com. Otherwise, if you don't want to wait, in the meantime, you can just, read farmingwithoutthebank.com or read Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And if you don't know what that is, I am going to assume you're going to listen to more podcasts and find out. All right, you guys, today we are going to talk about what to do when we have high commodity prices. And this seems absolutely crazy, right? Well, what I'm going to do, Mary Jo, is I'm going to go buy things to avoid taxes. And I've talked about this a little bit on other podcasts, but this is I've talked about avoiding taxes on other podcasts and how absolutely silly that is. But I really want to talk to you about what are we going to do when commodity prices are back up? Because even though you guys are living in this world where everything was down for a long time, we know it has to come back up because it always does. As long as that dollar falls, commodities are going to go the opposite direction. And we are now seeing the dollar is not as strong and it just keeps getting weaker every day. Why this is even an up and down cycle is crazy to me because the dollar is losing value constantly. But we are now seeing bean prices high. We're seeing corn prices high. And then cattle prices are coming back up a little bit. And so what do? Now, this is the cycle that happens all the time to farmers. And I am here to warn you of the absolute craziness. Now, when commodity prices were high in 13, 14, what were we doing? We were buying all kinds of crap to avoid taxes. You could hardly not buy a new combine, not buy a new tractor. Geez, I'm going to buy more cows. Cattle prices are high. I'm going to build buildings. My friends, it's all going to come back down, right? Like, this is not rocket science. Unless you are in your first 10 years of farming, let me share with you that these prices are constantly going up and down. So when commodity prices fall, guess what? Now we have to make payments on those things that we bought when prices were high. Keep in mind, your accountant is doing nothing but trying to help you avoid taxes. They are not financially planning for you. Neither is your banker. All he's doing is telling you right now, go buy. Sure, you can have some money, Johnny, because commodity prices are high. And if commodity prices fall this fall, guess what? Oh, how are you going to pay for that? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do next year? Huge crisis on our hands. Well, hello, Mr. Banker. Why are you giving me money when prices are high and then you freak out when they're low? Right? So then you're mad at the banker because he gave you money. And at the end of the day, he didn't plan past 12 months. Your accountant didn't plan past 12 months. And guess who wrote the check? You did. You're the one that needs to think long term. If you are going to buy a tractor and you're going to write that thing off for 7 years and you're going to have 7 years worth of payments, you better darn well plan that commodity prices may go down in that period. Are you going to be able to make your payment? Do you know what commodity prices are going to drop to? Nope. Do you have an idea of how low they can go based on the last 3-4 years? You sure should. If you can't pay for it with low commodity prices, why are you buying it when commodity prices are high? Keep that in mind. Many of you today are sitting in a situation where we have old lines of credit that need to be paid off because we haven't been able to pay them. You might have rearranged or restructured some loans, right? And extended those loans out so that you could have paid those payments the last 2 or 3 years. So now when commodity prices are higher and we have a little extra cash in our pocket, what are we going to do? Are we going to go buy something and repeat that cycle and get into trouble again? Or do we take the extra cash and pay down the note from the bank that was stretched out? What are you going to do? Most of you are trying to avoid taxes to the point that you are in a 10 to 12% tax bracket. Now, keep in mind, that means if you spend $100,000, you saved 10. That's 10%. What you did was got rid of the other $90,000. I don't care if you paid cash for a piece of equipment or if you went to the bank to borrow it. If you went to the bank to borrow it, it's even worse because you saved $10,000. What are you paying them in interest over the next 7 years? Not all, I shouldn't say you all because that's generalization. Many of you are angry with the bank because they won't lend money because you're super extended. If you are in a position where you can pay down some of those notes and get them off your back, why wouldn't you? Are you really that concerned about saving $10,000? Because I need to buy something to avoid taxes when you would have had the other $90,000 that you could have paid down a note? If you bought that piece of equipment with cash or you bought those cows with cash, could have you had that $90,000 that you could have used for operating? $90,000 of cash for operating? I don't care if you don't do the infinite banking concept or not. Think about this. You could have had $90,000 of cash for operating and not gone to the bank for that 90. But instead, we went and bought a piece of equipment. We went and bought cattle, something for that $90,000. It's gone. So we could have saved 10. Even if you were in a 30% tax bracket, which most farmers are never going to see because you write absolutely everything off and create all these expenses. But let's say that you still have $70,000 to use for operating. If you truly want to get out of the banking system and get away from the bank and the control of the bank, stop borrowing money from them. And start utilizing your money so that you are smarter about it. Pay the dang taxes. This clearly, as you can tell, I'm a little fiery today. This clearly drives me crazy. When I have to pay taxes this year, I cry inside just a little bit every single time. I don't want to pay them. Right? I may have my little temper tantrum as well. And I might And I would love to go buy things to avoid taxes. I would love to, but it ultimately does not make sense for me to throw away another $70,000 to save 30. Guess which number's bigger? I will pay the 30. I will pay the 20. I will pay the 10, whatever the tax bracket is that you're in. It is absolutely crazy that we are talking about right now. Commodity prices are good for a few months, and we are talking about how we're going to spend that money. When we have overspent for the last 3 to 4 years, we've been struggling. And what do? Repeat the same cycle over and over and over. And that is called insanity, my friends. When you do the same thing over and over and over and expect different results, you are not going to get a different result. You are going to have to make some sacrifices. And by not paying the IRS and by moving that money to the bank, you decided that you dislike the IRS more than you dislike the bank. Please remember, you wrote the check. It is your business. You're the one deciding if you're going to take good advice or if you're going to take lousy advice from an accountant that's just looking at a 12-month period of time. What about looking long-term? What's going to happen when commodity prices fall again? Why are you not looking at your books? This is your business and your responsibility to run it like a business. We have wonderful commodity prices right now. Can we make the best of this and say, you know what? I have extra money. I'm going to either start my banking system with Mary Jo with this extra money, but guess what we're going to do? We're going to look out long term to make sure that you can still afford the premium. I'm not going to go, oh, look at in the next 12 months, look how much money you're going to have. No. We're going to look long term and make sure you can always pay for that. Worst case scenario, that premium is flexible and we can always reduce it to a certain amount. So there's a flexibility in the payment. But this would be a good opportunity when commodity prices are high to start your banking system, to pay off some debt, that we now have freed up some cash that we can use to start our banking system. But if we continue to spend $100,000 to avoid 10, we are never going to be able to do that. Think about how we're going to get this started. When commodity prices were high, I had just wrote my book, hence the big premium examples in there, right? I wrote my book when corn was $7.50 a bushel or whatever it was. I forget at the moment. That was great opportunity for people to start. And guess what? Everyone laughed at me. Everyone. And I'm not being general. People would walk by me at farm shows and laugh. I don't need you. I'm farming with cash. I'm already doing that. And 3 years later, most of those people, I will venture to bet, most of those people went back to the bank because they ran out of cash. Why would we not use the cash, this extra cash we have now, to figure out how to get away from the banks? Or we just continue to do what we're doing, and how is that working for us? If we are going to continue to do what we do, you have absolutely no right to complain about the banker or the accountant, because ultimately you are the one making that decision. This is a great opportunity to make that change and pay off some debt. Do we know if commodity prices are going to stay? I have no idea. I've talked to lots of commodity brokers. Or I've listened, I shouldn't say I've talked to them. I've listened to lots of commodity brokers. And they say, well, it's going to come back down in the fall and it's high right now. But if you are not marketing your grain, I know nothing about marketing, except the people that I have that have made money when commodity prices have been down in the last 3 to 5 years, the people that I know that have made money are all marketing their grain. They are using a company that is hedging, and they are doing it smart. Now is the time to be marketing the grain for next year's December, right? And we can possibly market it as a higher cost. Again, I'm kind of talking out of my you-know-what here because I don't know anything about it. But I've talked to clients who are doing it. And so can we make those contracts now? If you've not looked at marketing grain, and I'm not talking about going to Cargill to market grain. Okay, I don't have anything against Cargill. I'm just talking about my farmers that are going to private companies that are doing marketing. And if you guys have not listened to my podcast with Tim Bickett from the ARC group, you might want to go listen to that because if you've never marketed grain, go back and listen to that podcast because we talk about marketing. He's the guy that does that stuff. Okay. I have no affiliation with the ARC group. I just know them as people and I appreciate them. I don't do business with them of my own. And so look into those kinds of companies. If it's that one or a different one, I frankly don't care. But if you're not marketing, how are you going to take advantage of today's prices if you're not contracting it? If you're not hedging, puts and calls and all that other stuff, I don't get it. But I do get the people that are making money are not doing it the same. How do we better utilize these higher prices? Do something different. Take advantage of it and don't be buying stuff you don't need. Can we get over Parkinson's law? Our needs rise to meet our income. That is Parkinson's law. Let me tell you, if you are never going to beat Parkinson's law, you're never going to have anything. You're going to have to beat that and capitalize this system to start your bank and get away from the bank. So you become the banker. You become the owner of the bank. This is what the infinite banking concept is about. And we have a great opportunity to do it. I did not mean to yell at you for the last 15 minutes. That was a little more passionate than I thought I would get today. However, I think it is important that you guys really pay attention to this. Pay attention to your books. Now is a fantastic opportunity for you to do that and to make some changes. If you have not gotten the Farming Without the Bank book yet, get that book. Go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, and if you can do it, grab the bundle. Grab the Farming Without the Bank book along with Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker, and read both of them. I have Farming Without the Bank in audio. Download it. Get it on audio, and you can listen to it multiple times, right? My meetings that I have with new people that have listened to that book 2, 3, 4, 500 times, every single time they listen to it, they hear something different. And then read Nelson's book. You will not be sorry. And I know many of you are listening to these podcasts before you buy the book. Or many of you call and say, well, I want a meeting with Mary Jo, and I've listened to all the podcasts. That doesn't qualify. I want you to read the book. Why? Because there's stuff in that book I may have not covered in these podcasts. And you need to be thinking correctly. You need to see the numbers. You need to understand. We have an 1.5-hour consultation with whoever wants a consultation that's read the book. But you first have to read the book so we're all on the same page. We had a gentleman call. We've had 2 of them in the last few weeks call. I want to talk to Mary Jo. You guys, I barely have time during the day to use the restroom. People that have read the book are going to be able to talk to me. If you have not read the book, I do not have the time to have a 1/2-hour conversation. I have clients to call back. They take precedence. So we have had 2 people in the last couple of weeks that have been mad and hung up on my assistants because they would not allow them to talk to me. I understand if you have personal information that you want to talk to me about, read the book and we get into that information in our 1.5-hour consultation. But guess what? I have done this for 11 years. You call me and say, oh, I just have a quick conversation with Mary Jo. 45 minutes later, we're getting off the phone. Guess what? I'm not reading you the book. You could have read almost the whole entire book in 45 minutes. I'm not telling you how this works. You have got to do your homework. I had a client last week that sent me a whole Word document of information. And I went through it and I said, I did my homework. And it was awesome that he sent that. Yes, I had to make time to read it, but we got a lot more accomplished in our meeting. I will do my homework if you ask me to as well. I expect the same in return. So if you read the Farming Without the Bank book, you read Nelson's book, you only have to read one of them. I am more than happy to give you my time. More than happy. And I apologize to some of you who are trying to get in and you want to get in yesterday. You read the book, you're excited, and I am booked out until like March. And I am super thankful for that. And I am super, super grateful for those of you that are waiting for me. But if you want me to help, I can only do so many meetings in a day, right? It's an 1.5 hours. I do 3 to 4 of those meetings a day, back to back. That is a lot of people and that's a lot of information and a lot of strategies. And I'm exhausted by the end of the day, mentally exhausted. And so if I could put 10 of you in a day and give you the great service I give the 4 that I do during a day, I would do it in a heartbeat. So I appreciate that you're waiting and I apologize. You have to wait. If you want the help, I am so happy to help. And I love talking to every single one of you, regardless. I have plenty of people I talk to that do not have the funds to get started. But oh my gosh, I love those conversations just as much as I love the conversations with people who are ready to get started. It doesn't matter. We all need ideas. We all need strategies of where to begin. So grab that book if you're listening to the podcast just to see who I am. Am I legit? Am I real? Because that's why a lot of people are listening. I am. I was in your boat. I thought it was a scam. I thought it was a joke. It's not. It's frustrating that we didn't know about it, but it's not a joke. Go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, grab the book, grab Nelson's book, and then be on the lookout for Life Without the Bank for business owners and just employees. If you're not a farmer and a business owner and an employee, you will like that book as soon as it is released. We are going to do a pre-order on it. And so hopefully you guys can grab the pre-order. That's all I have today. Thank you very much for tuning in, hanging in there with me, and supporting me. I appreciate it. And as always, if I can help or answer questions, or if there is a subject you want me to talk about, please let me know. MaryJo@farmingwithoutthebank.com. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.